When it comes to investing, is that it doesn't take any special talent to invest profitably. The only difference between those earning double-digit returns and those not is knowledge.
Wealthy, private-eye Jennifer Hart never had to think about finances on the hit television show Heart to Heart, but her real-life counterpart Stefanie Powers has, and managed to become both a successful actress and businesswoman in the process. She serves as president of the William Holden Wildlife Foundation, runs a production company, and even has her own clothing line. She's also the host of the upcoming 7-part PBS series, Funding Your Dreams, a guide to personal financial planning. Welcome, Stefanie.
Thank you. Oh, boy, I sound like a dynamo, don't I?
Absolutely. Now, I read somewhere, though, that you were pulled kicking and screaming into dealing with the question of finances.
Well, I think we all are, actually. I mean, unless it comes to us early on, we wind up being forced to be confronted by those realities that eventually we have to take control of our own financial situation.
Yeah, I think somebody in the baby boomer generation particularly, in their sort of late 30s, early 40s to 50s, are now going, what do you mean, no Social Security? You mean I've got to take care of this myself? So we're all now looking to you. Answer these questions. Yes. So tell me about the series.
You know, I think first of all that there's a lot of difference between us now and them then. You know, I mean, our parents and the other generations. You know, many changes have occurred. Not the least of which is our perception of what income is and what it's for. And I think a lot of us have grown up thinking, because we came from baby boomers, because life was prosperous, the country was doing well, that what we were making was the potential of what we could spend. I don't think anybody today would even think about giving their cousin, niece, nephew, grandchild a $25 savings bond as a present in lieu of a Nintendo game or a, you know, vastly more expensive pair of tennis shoes. You know, those are the gifts that earn kisses, and a savings bond doesn't. But I got savings bonds, you got savings bonds from the generation that did wind up having something. So what did they do? What was the difference? The difference was they started thinking about it. And because they weren't thinking about how much they were going to spend, they were thinking about the security for their future, for their family, for their generations. And so these programs that we've produced with the help of Merrill Lynch are in order to open the door to the understanding that there is a possibility of you entering into this arena no matter how old, and there's no age too early, and no matter how much your income is or how much money you have to play with.
Because there are a lot of people who might think about this, who are thinking about this, but they may not be able to afford or want financial advisors. And the prospect of investing themselves or trying to wade through myriad documents to understand is mind-boggling.
Well, it seems mind-boggling. It seems mind-boggling. And it seems like this monolithic, mythical structure that is, oh, beyond, it's almost religious in nature, that you can't enter into these sacred halls. But we're dispelling some of that in some of the material that we're trying to disseminate through these programs.
What did you find the most helpful when you were doing the research and putting this together?
Well, my own experiences, and I am the archetype character to whom this should appeal. I found myself divorced. For a start, I was a professional when I was 15 years old. So, and yet, being in my business, we were always told, oh, no, you don't need to have this responsibility. We'll take that, you know. But they did do nice things like put money into savings bonds so that by the time I was of 21 years of age and legal age, so to speak, I would have something. I would have something that had been tithed for me. In spite of myself, because historically people in my industry had been abused, especially young people. Their incomes had disappeared.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a forced tithing. And it was very nice to get that first chunk of money. And with that first chunk of money, I bought my first house. I should have been well on the way at that point to thinking about how I was going to solidify my future. But I married, and I relinquished all of that responsibility to my husband, who was older, who had had more experience, who built houses and did this and that. And lo and behold, at the time that we got divorced, he had overextended our finances. And
so
I had
to learn.
I was in that position where I owed a lot of money. I didn't own my own house, and I moved into a house that I shared with somebody, and I vowed I would never be in that position ever again.
I will never be hungry again.
I will never, yes, Scarlett O'Hara.
And will this program, before we get to our break here, will this program answer all of those questions in a pretty basic way where we can all understand?
It opens the discussion. It gives you the seeds, it plants the seeds for your being able to take it farther. It does encourage people to investigate all the possibilities of financial planning on a professional basis, but also it allows you to begin to understand the questions you should be asking of yourself. It starts here first. You really must understand what it is you want, what your vision of yourself is, how you see yourself in the future. And then you'll start to begin to ask the questions that need to be asked, for which there are answers. And there are answers in the library. There are answers on the internet. There's answers in the daily newspaper.
And now answers on PBS.
Yes.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Superwoman. Stay with us.
The animal orphanage is a unique part of the ranch that is also devoted to special breeding projects. The bongo, a shy and beautiful antelope, is one of the rarest of its kind, and few humans have ever even seen them in the wild.
Welcome back. I'm continuing my conversation with actress Stefanie Powers. That was Stefanie at the Mount Kenya Game Ranch in Africa. Also the host of the upcoming PBS series, Funding Your Dreams. One of my passions. Actually, I'm going back next month. I can't wait. Tell me about the work of the William Holden Wildlife Foundation.
Well, I wish you could come and see us.
I would love
Next time,
yes,
you'll let me know. Bill died in 1981. And Bill was a conservationist long before the term was in popular usage. He had gone out to Africa as a hunter in the late 1950s, saw the diminishing herds, and very quickly turned into somebody who was more interested in preserving them than shooting them, which was a novel idea. I mean, if you had said that in polite company back here, they would have sort of called it the men with the straitjackets and said, this man is an extremist. But indeed, the bell was tolling, even in the 50s.
And you really have expanded to not only conserve, but educate, in particular.
It was his idea.
People.
He wanted to back up specific animal preservation, which he had started doing in the 1960s at the Mount Kenya Game Ranch, what you saw on the clip, with an education program, so that the indigenous people, as well as people from the region, would be able to recognize, understand the habits of these animals who were very much a part of the food chain. It is not a sentimental attachment to nature, but a practical attachment to nature that needs to be fostered with the people, indeed, probably the majority of the people on the face of the earth.
You said a comment that I shouldn't admit that I did enjoy, but you said the threatened animals are very, very important to our food chain. Human beings serve no purpose whatsoever.
Well, I think it's safe to say that if we were eliminated, life would go on very happily and in perfect balance, or seemingly perfect balance. Being the top of the food chain, we are ultimate exploiters, and as such, we don't contribute very much. No, we don't contribute anything.
Given your work, given the conditions now on that continent, are you an optimist? Are you still very, very concerned?
I'm very concerned. It's an ongoing project. What we did after Bill's death was we formed a 501c3 public charity, also a challenge to manage the money of that and to invest it wisely so that we live off of the income of the investments rather than our capital, because we wanted to build something that would last in perpetuity. Backing up specific animal preservation with education in the hope that slowly, slowly we would be able to form the building blocks of the logic of why it is important to maintain this balance and to keep these animals alive. We have about 10,000 students a year coming through our center on site, and we have an outreach program in the bush which copes with another 1,800 families on a continual basis.
Fabulous.
It is a process. It's a long process. It's a process that has to be taken care of.
And one you are passionate about.
Yes, and I'm totally committed.
Before we run out of time, almost there, other than the PBS series, when can we next see you on entertainment television?
Oh gosh, well, we're working on those things. I've been waylaid a little bit. I've been in the theater, and
yeah, you haven't been doing anything.
I'm doing a few other things, and performing with the St. Louis Philharmonic Orchestra, and most recently, and I've been doing some very interesting things I've wanted to do for a long time in other areas.
You don't really miss it when you're not working on a television or film project?
As long as I'm working on something else that I enjoy, yeah, no. It's always, it's the piece, whatever the piece is. And when it's right and when it's attractive and interesting, it's enjoyable.
Oh, well, we get to tune in March. PBS, Funding Your Dreams. I will be there. I need to hear what you've got to say. Stefanie Powers, thanks so very much
Come and see
all
us in
your
Africa.
amazing work. Now, that's it for this edition of the Crier Report. Thanks for joining us.